Welcome to InterPartyConflict, the podcast where we answer your questions so you can have the best tabletop gaming experience possible. My name is Gabe.
My name is Jeff.
And we're going to answer your questions today. But first, I have a question. Jeff.
Ooh, that's me.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing okay. Just been playing a lot of Valheim.
Yeah.
I've already put 100 hours in this game, Gabe. It's
sure.
It's addicting, but it's very relaxing. Like, I've been listening to podcasts, watching YouTube channel, like YouTube videos and stuff, just like having a nice relaxing weekend. So
cool.
So how about you? What you been up to?
I've been pretty busy with work. I mentioned the last time, like, they made us work some mandatory overtime last week, so we only had one day off, and then this week I thought they were going to do the same thing, but they actually canceled it. So I had a quote unquote full 2-day weekend this weekend, I guess. So
Nice.
I don't know. I'm tired. I'm still getting used to my new job, and I'm still able to, like, listen to podcasts and stuff, but I'm not able to. I used to be able to, like, watch stuff on my phone too, because my phone was just kind of like propped up so I could do whatever. But now I'm moving around so much, I don't really get to do that. Maybe I could 3D print some sort of like a necklace that holds my phone in front of my face.
Like, I'm imagining like the one-man band where he's got the, like, harmonica around his neck. It's just that, but it's just like your phone right in your face. Yeah. In
the movie Tim and Eric's $1 billion movie.
Oh God.
They're doing sort of like it has the energy of a motivational speech. It's not a motivational speech, but they have these things around their neck that hold up a microphone so that it's just like a full-size microphone is being held directly in front of their face. And it's just kind of a hook, just like a big plastic hook with a microphone stand on the end.
Right. It's the absurdity that they could just have a headset, but instead have these.
I didn't even think of that. That makes that so much better. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm getting used to my job, so I'm tired and such. I've also gotten back into some resin 3D printing. I was saying on our Discord that I'd been having issues with my printer for a while, and I think I might have figured them out. So as a result, I've been able to print some cool stuff the last few days. I've been printing some minis, printing some monsters. I'm currently printing a Tarrasque.
Ooh.
And, like, a really cool one too.
So you can have it on your desk and yell at it all the time?
Pretty much, yeah. It's going to be the focus of all of my anger.
She's right.
No, I mean, it looks really cool. I don't plan on ever actually using it in a game, but it's an awesome looking design. It's the designer is Lord of the Print, I think is what it's called. I joined their Patreon, and it's part of the, like, welcome package. So yeah, it's fantastic. I love the design of it. It's really, really cool. Everybody should check that out. Hopefully soon I will have one on my desk that I can yell at and tell it how ineffective of a monster it is.
You used to be so good, but now you are not.
Even the 4th edition version of you was good. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got going on. 3D printing and being tired.
Sure.
You want to go ahead and jump into this episode?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So, Jeff, I want you to imagine that you have enlisted the help of an oracle to help you find some treasure.
Yeah.
And so the oracle took you out into the countryside, and they hand you a bow. Mm-hmm. And they have you point out, you're standing on a cliff. They have you point out over there. And they say, "Fire the bow, and wherever the arrow lands, there is where you shall find your treasure."
Oh, okay.
So give me an attack roll if you got a D20.
All right, yeah, I'm gonna pull back the bowstring. I'm gonna just aim high, I guess. Oh, Gabe.
What?
I rolled a natural 20 there, buddy.
Whoa, boy. Okay.
This dice you got for me, honestly, has been doing pretty good.
Awesome. The metal one?
Yeah.
Cool. I don't really roll mine. It just looks really good. Similar to how the Tarrasque will be sitting on my desk.
It's just for looks.
Yeah. Well, okay. That's awesome. So you draw the bow and you pull back and you fire it and you see it just like sail in this perfect arc out over the countryside. And while it is flying through the air, because you rolled a natural 20, I'll change this up a little bit. Suddenly you see a very large scaled shape flying across the horizon.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear a roar as your arrow pierces into the side of some sort of a very large, now very angry dragon.
Oh no.
And you hide for a moment, as does the Oracle. After a little while, it appears that it has lost sight of you, and then it's flown off towards, I don't know, wherever it was going to or coming from or whatever. So you managed to survive, you weren't killed by this dragon. However, the Oracle's like, yeah, no, that's where the treasure is now. Wherever the arrow lands, there's treasure. So I guess the treasure, do you know where that treasure is going to be, Jeff?
I have an idea, but where is it?
The treasure is going to be in the dragon's hoard.
I like. Who submitted that one? That was good.
Oh, nobody submitted that one. That was all me.
That was you? Oh, it's a good idea.
Straight off the dome.
Nice.
So today's magic item, though, was submitted by Black Magus 2651, which actually more on that person in a little while. Black Magus 2651 submitted this via both email and Discord. They sent it to me in email and then also posted on the Discord. And we actually, this is a special occasion. We've got 2 magic items today. They submitted 2 items that are both kind of similar, and so I figured, why not just include them both? The items are Hawkeye's bow and Hawkeye's quiver. So Hawkeye's bow is however the DM wants it to be, either a +1, +2, or +3 weapon. It is a longbow made of alchemically treated ironwood, and the string is a flexible metal alloy. You have a couple different abilities you can do with this bow. And the way that Black Magus 2651 set these up is a little odd, but there's all sorts, I guess. You can do a long draw, and you can do this once per odd level per day. So let's say you're level 5. You can do this 3 times a day. Level 1, level 3, and level 5. You can do it 3 times a day. So if you do this attack, if the attack hits, you do max damage. You can only do it once per round, and it doesn't affect critical hits. I'm guessing like just one of the damage dice would be maximum.
Okay, that's cool.
So like if you're level 5, 3 times a day, max damage on a hit. The next one you can do is rapid fire, which is once per even level per day. So if you're level 5, you can do it twice per day. You can get an extra ranged attack. I'm guessing whenever you take the attack action. Nice. You can then use precise shot. You can spend a movement action, or I guess in 5th edition, maybe some amount of your movement, to take advantage on one ranged attack. Since you have no movement that round, others have advantage to hit you. So you can't move and you take advantage to hit you. However, it's kind of like you're aiming, you're lining up your shot and you're getting your aim right before you let it fly.
Yeah, that's basically the ranged version of reckless attack for barbarians.
That makes a lot of sense. I didn't even think of that.
So yeah, that's really cool.
Sure. And then the last ability is Whirlwind. Once per short rest, you can make an attack on all enemies within your movement speed up to a maximum of your dexterity modifier. So I think that's that's powerful, but that's not too powerful. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's really neat.
Yeah. Those are, once again, long draw, rapid fire, precise shot, and whirlwind. Those are all abilities of Hawkeye's bow.
Yeah.
And then to go with it, we have Hawkeye's quiver. This is an attuned item. It contains 12 alchemically treated ironwood shafts with liquid metal tips and fletching that appears to be a flexible steel. The shafts, when pulled, fit any bow or crossbow that is held, which I think is pretty cool. And the shafts vanish and reappear in the quiver after a long rest. They are all masterwork ammunition, which means you re-roll any 1s on your damage dice. And it mentions the lucky feat will re-roll 1s and 2s. I don't think it's a lucky feat. I think it's I think it might be referring to like there's like that halfling ability or something that you re-roll 1s.
Yeah, but I think that's just for D20 rolls. That's for like ability checks and stuff like that.
The first part was for damage rolls. The re-rolling 1s was for damage rolls, but then also if you have, I'm guessing if you have, and I'm reading into this a little bit, if you have an ability that lets you re-roll on ones on attack rolls, you can re-roll ones or twos.
Okay.
I think.
All right.
I don't know. That could use some clarification, I guess. Then additionally, by foregoing any movement action, you may load one shaft per round with one of the following effects. And then there's a few different abilities. Elemental damage is the first one. You can give your arrow 1d4 acid, cold, fire, lightning, necrotic, or radiant damage.
Cool.
You can make them armor piercing, which gives you advantage to hit.
Okay.
You can make it a stunning arrow, which has a DC 15 save or be stunned for 1d4 rounds, which is pretty powerful.
Yeah.
You can fire a hook. From impact, a 50-foot rope appears connected from the arrow to your hand, has a 500-pound capacity, and a DC 15 strength check, I'm guessing, to pull free.
Sure.
The next ability is Flare, DC 15 save or be blinded for 1d4 rounds. Similarly, a Bang, DC 15 save or be deafened for 1d4 rounds. And the final one is Smoke. You create a thick fog within a 10-foot radius for 1d4 rounds. I'm guessing that's a d4 radius of where the arrow hits.
Yeah, imagine.
So, yeah, elemental damage, armor piercing, stunning, hook, flare, bang, and smoke are the different types of arrows you can fire with Hawkeye's quiver.
Nice.
So yeah, this is obviously a reference to the DC hero Green Arrow, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
No, it's a reference to the A-Team character Hawkeye. Is that right? A-Team?
Right. Yeah.
Or was that MASH? Shoot. Whatever TV show had a character named Hawkeye.
Right, one of those.
Yeah.
Hawkeye's just over in the corner like, oh, come on, man.
But no, I just think these two are two pretty cool items, and they go well together. Mm-hmm. They're just they give you cool tricks you can do with bow and arrow.
Yeah, they're pretty powerful, but like I don't think these are like game breaking. This is just definitely like something you'd give to a player who basically just wants to be the bow guy. Yeah, because like I don't know of a ton of options in classes and stuff, at least 5th edition, that like really lets you take advantage of bows to that extent, to like the extent of like, you know, a superhero movie.
Sure.
So like I feel like this gives the guy who wants to be the bow guy a lot of options, and like helps them keep up with, like, you know, like I think there is an arcane archer. And like it's got some decent stuff, but it doesn't have, like, I feel like it didn't have the utility. It doesn't have the utility of, say, like a Hawkeye or a Green Arrow.
Sure.
You know, like it's got a few cool abilities, but like when you think of the guy with the bow, you think of Hawkeye, you think of Green Arrow, where he's got like the quiver of all the different trick arrows and stuff like that. Like this definitely makes that real, and I like it. It's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's definitely, there's some really cool stuff in there, and I think some of the rules could use a little bit of cleaning up, but you know, otherwise I think it's really good.
Sure. Yeah, and like some of the arrows in the quiver seem on the more powerful side, so maybe gate those for a while, like, you know, like maybe they only have access to like a few of them at first, but then eventually they can like upgrade it or something. The stun one is you know,
that's pretty powerful.
So like, you know, maybe it's something that they work at, you know, that they or they find new components for it or something like that.
Sure.
But I really like the bow, actually. I like precise shot is a really neat idea, because that is basically reckless attack or whatever from barbarian, except for, and like it, ranged is technically more powerful than melee in the way that it, like, you're not in the danger, right?
Sure.
So like that's the advantage that ranged attacks have. So like I feel like spending the move action, or you're spending your movement to do it, is kind of makes up for that, I feel like. So like if you wanted to do it, if you're within range of somebody, you couldn't like back up and then do it. You know, you can like move further away and then do it. You'd have to stay in place, take your shot, and then be, and then be vulnerable for that round. Mm-hmm. So like I think that's a good balance of that. I like that.
So yeah, thank you very much for submitting that Black Magus 2651. Once again, that was Hawkeye's Bow and Hawkeye's Quiver, submitted via email and Discord. So big thank you. Jeff, if anybody else wanted to submit magic items for the Dragon's Horde, or questions for us to discuss, or stories for the funeral pyre or retirement village, how would they get those to us?
They could send us an email at interpartyconflict@gmail.com or join us on our Interparty Discord at bit.ly/interpartydiscord.
That's correct. And before we go any further, we have a giveaway to give away today. We are giving away a copy of Unearthed Tips and Tricks Volume 2, courtesy of Crit Academy. Unearthed Tips and Tricks Volume 2 is a great supplement that contains 25 character concepts, encounter concepts, monster variants, magic items, player tips, and DM tips. All sorts of stuff for players, for DMs, for everybody just interested in the game. Lots of great stuff in there. So who is our winner of this great supplement today, Jeff?
Our winner today is Adam G.
Winner. Gobble, gobble, gobble. Yes. Congratulations, Adam G. You should be getting that in your email pretty soon. I also want to say Adam G sent a recipe along with his submission.
Oh.
For some sort of like a squash and pasta thing that sounds delicious.
Ooh.
But I don't know. He didn't say what it was called or like, I don't know. But it sounds delicious. Maybe I'll have to make it sometime. I'll forward it to you after we're done here.
It gave you the recipe, but not like the title of the recipe.
I guess he basically just said, take this ingredient and this ingredient and then fry them up with this.
Oh.
And serve them with pasta, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that if you just add it to pasta, it's good.
Yeah.
I gotta start making homemade pasta noodles. That's what I gotta start doing.
I made homemade pasta once a long time ago. Mm-hmm. And it was so much work.
Oh, no.
For something that, you can buy a pound of it from the store for like $1.50 or something. I mean, it was good, but man, I spent all day making that pasta and it's still... Anyway. So, congratulations, Adam G. You should be getting that in your email pretty soon. If you don't, be sure to let us know. And of course, be sure to leave Crit Academy a review so that they can continue to get more attention and get more feedback so they can continue to make better products in the future. And now we said last time that we're going to be starting a new giveaway. So I'm going to say that we're going to have one more giveaway of Unearthed Tips and Tricks Volume 2, which unfortunately, because of how we record these, if you're listening to this, it's already too late to enter that one. Oh. However, if you would like to join the new drawing in order to get a copy of Crit Academy's 3 supplements, the Warmind, the Skybreaker, and the Werecat. Mm-hmm. Jeff, how would somebody enter that drawing that we're going to be starting up very soon?
They could send us an email at interpartyconflict@gmail.com with Crit 3 in the subject line.
Yes. So big thank you to Crit Academy for facilitating all of this. Every few months, Justin's like, hey, here's another cool thing that you can give out for free if you want to. And it's cool. So cool. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah.
So big thank you to them. Congratulations to Adam G. Hopefully everybody who has won so far has been leaving reviews. Hopefully Crit Academy has a whole mess of new reviews for these products.
Yeah.
And just big thank you to everybody and good luck to everybody who's entering the new drawing. Hey, Jeff, I have an announcement.
Oh, what's that?
We've got a new patron.
Oh.
And yes, this one I believe is Black Magus 2651 from before.
Oh, cool.
The name is on the Patreon account is, I believe, Darbon2. I hope I am pronouncing that right. If not, I apologize. But huge thank you to Darbon2. Patrons like you really keep the lights on and keep the show going, and just make us feel better about putting in the time and the work to make this podcast happen. So big thank you to Darbon2. Thank you to all of our other wonderful patrons. For anybody who's not familiar, Patreon is an online platform. You can pledge to donate a certain amount of money per month to the creator of your choice. If you go to ours at patreon.com/InterPartyConflict, we've got a few different reward tiers. On the lowest tier, we've got outtakes. We've got fantasy fiction that I've written. On the next tier up, we've got a monthly bonus podcast, InterPatronConflict. And then on the tier above that, we've got a monthly Roll20 game. The day we're recording this, we're actually going to be doing February's game tomorrow on the last day of the month. and I, of course, I'm nervous about it. I'm always nervous about those when we do them. I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, and then we're going to try to schedule next month's coming up soon, hopefully in a way that will preempt any sort of work shenanigans that might mess with our schedule. So
Sure.
Yeah, so if you want to check out the Patreon, go to patreon.com/InterPartyConflict. Check out the rewards, see if anything appeals to you. There's one reward. There's been a reward for each of the tiers that we added a few months ago that not many people have taken us up on. On the lowest tier, we will record an introduction to the show specifically for you. So we'll do an intro and then have your name instead of me asking Jeff how he's doing. On the second tier, we've got, you can write a paragraph or something and we will record it. Just whatever you write, we'll record it for you. I had an idea, because nobody's ever actually taken us up on this. I have an idea that maybe might appeal to people. If you are currently if you're in a gaming group, whether your group has played recently or not, if you're in a gaming group, you could write a custom introduction for your gaming group that we will record for you. If you and anybody else in your group like to listen to our podcast, we will record a thing that's like, hey, Bobby, Sally, Jimmy, and Tim, have a great game or something.
Right,
Hopefully it will be better than that. You're the ones that are writing it, not us.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's a cool idea. Like if you're like a DM or something, you want to have us record a little something for your group. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
That sounds like a good idea.
Anyway. So yeah, thank you to all of our wonderful patrons. Check us out. And then one more thing, check out the other podcasts on the Crit Nation Fellowship. Check out Crit Academy, critacademy.com. Check out the Kind GM podcast. Check out Brute Force and Ignorance. And check out D&D Character Lab. And actually, something about D&D Character Lab, they recently started a GoFundMe to cover some of the hosting fees for their podcast, because they're not making episodes anymore.
Right.
They still need a place to host their episodes. And without a Patreon or anything like that, I guess they are facing the possibility of their hosting lapsing.
Right.
So I'll put the link in the show notes. Basically, if you just type in GoFundMe and D&D Character Lab, it'll come up. But if any of you could go check that out and possibly throw a few bucks their way to help them keep their show on the air,
right,
we'd appreciate it.
Yeah, because hosting fees alone aren't super expensive. So just to cover the year, they only need $150, $160 or something like that total.
Yeah,
I think they got some sort of stretch goal kind of thing too. Or
sure.
Yeah, because the hosting fees aren't super duper expensive. They don't really need too much just to keep all their episodes up for another year.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, any amount will help them out. So. Yeah. I saw that online and I was like, oh, are they making more stuff? And I was like, oh no, the
opposite.
The opposite. Their old stuff might have to come down. And I was like, I'm sure there might be other ways to get at it, but it's not. It won't be as easy for people to listen to it. So
sure.
I felt like that was worth mentioning.
Yeah. So yeah, if you guys could go check that out, we'd appreciate it. They're a great asset to the network, and their podcast is great. So, at the very least, go listen to it.
And at the very, very least, go listen to the episode that we were on.
That's correct.
Because we had a blast on that episard. I think about that all the time.
Awesome. All right. You want to go ahead and jump into some questions, Jeff?
Yeah, let's do it. All right. Our first question comes from the Beverage Tea on Discord, and they ask, as a DM, are you disappointed if the players don't attempt or complete the side quests or find all of the treasure possible?
Yeah, I feel like this is something that's sort of been, we've brushed upon several times in the last few weeks.
Sure.
If you're running, I think mainly if you're running a pre-written module, but also if it's something that you create yourself. Mm-hmm. If the players just don't see a secret door, or they don't find that bit of treasure, or they don't loot that goblin or whatever. Are you disappointed?
Yeah. And I've actually had a little bit of DM experience with this, because running Chapel on the Cliffs, I won't go into details for those of you who haven't read or played it yet. It's a pretty good adventure.
Yeah.
There was definitely a there's a few pathways that they can go to. There's a few dead ends, right? You're trying to figure out this one thing, and then there's a few dead ends, but those dead ends actually like end in some decent treasure that can actually help you with the final encounter and stuff like that.
Sure.
So like, I was sort of excited to be like, oh, okay, they're going to go and they're going to find this cool item that like, it's like a really cool weapon. And it's a weapon that is useful because it's a weapon, but then it also has a specific use in terms of like solving the main mystery. And there's actually a moment where like they kind of like, if they figure out the connection, they have to decide if they want to, like you basically have to sacrifice the weapon to use it. Like you don't need the weapon to do the thing to like, to beat the adventure, to complete the adventure, but it is one of the ways to complete the adventure, but you have to sacrifice it. So it's like, you get this really cool weapon that will save the day, but if one of your players really wants it, it's, so I was excited for somebody to find that weapon because I'd want them to have this really cool thing that they have to later go like, oh, but ooh.
Yeah.
So yeah, there is an amount of disappointment, but it's not like, I'm not like disappointed in the players, or I'm not disappointed in the adventure, or, I might throw some disappointment towards myself that I maybe didn't like talk up the other options as much. Like, it's like when you're giving the players 3 options and like, I don't know, like I feel like you kind of like, for me, I probably have like a tell, it's like, I'm going to say like, is it door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3, like, it's like, oh, obviously he wants us to go down door number 3,
Sure.
Maybe we'll do that, or maybe we'll do the opposite because we think that's what he wants. Anyway, so like, again, I might be disappointed in myself that maybe I didn't like, maybe I didn't put enough emphasis on the fact that there were other, that there were side quests. Maybe I didn't present the side quest as well as I could have.
Sure. And that's always a possibility, maybe you're at fault, maybe you're not, but yeah,
right.
It is always a little disappointing when the players don't find something. But here's the thing, especially when you're running a pre-written module. Pre-written module creators are freaking crazy. Some of the stuff that is in some of the adventures that I've read is like, no, who is going to figure that out? Nobody is the answer. Absolutely nobody. I think I've talked about this before, and I of course have forgotten some of the details, so I'm probably not going to get it right. But in the Return to the Temple of Elemental Evil, which was a 3rd edition adventure that was a sequel to a 1st or 2nd edition adventure, there's a part you're going through this dungeon, and there's like a gigantic cavern with this huge obelisk in it, and it's like balanced on, if you were to climb all the way down to the bottom, the obelisk is like balanced on a point. And there was some really weird thing that if you like use this like lantern of revealing or something on the base of the obelisk, you'll see that the tip is like glowing or something. And if you touch it, you get transported to this like magical tree that has fruit you can eat. And if you eat the fruit, it like increases your stats. But if you eat a second fruit, it reduces your stats. Some sort of really weird thing. It's just one of those examples of like, nobody's ever going to do this, but just in case they do, something totally bonkers is going to happen.
Right.
I want to say in that same adventure, much, much, much later, there's like some sort of eldritch machine you can encounter. And if a player falls into it, it cuts off one of their limbs and replaces it with like a golem limb or something. And there's rules for what to do if this happens multiple times. And I'm like, hang on a second. Right. No, it is not going to happen a second time.
Gabe, you, I think you vastly underestimate what players are. You don't quite understand what players want.
Fair enough.
like there is like there's like 80% chance that at least one person in a party is going to be like, I'm going in again. I want more robot arms, or I want more robot limbs.
I guess. So yes, it is. It is always disappointing when the players don't find everything. Like, I mean, I've run plenty of dungeon crawls. A big one that I'm a big fan of is Jadaroon, which is this big abandoned gnomish city in the first adventure of the Shackle City Adventure Path, and there are tons of secret rooms in there, tons of hidden passageways, and so on. And like, this city is freaking gigantic. The players are never going to explore the whole thing. It's just not going to happen. It's going to happen between sessions. It's not going to happen like at the table because it's just so freaking big. Mm-hmm. But there's always really cool stuff in there. And I always love it when the writers do put cool stuff in there, even if the players are never going to encounter it. It's cool that it's there. It's cool in the off chance that someone does stumble upon that thing. So when that coolness goes to waste, when you know there was clearly effort put into this and it doesn't come up, that it is definitely disappointing. The benefit, though, since you're the dungeon master, is you can do whatever the heck you want. You can force a player to find one of those things. You can have them trip and fall and, they are at the bottom of this obelisk and they get the fruit or whatever, or they fall into the machine. Who knows what? You can do whatever. You can also take something that's in an earlier part of the adventure and put it in a later part of the adventure.
Right,
exactly. It's a little weird. It might be weird trying to do so.
Just cut that part of the module out and like make a little scrapbook of side quests.
Sure.
You know, it's like oh yeah, that I'll save that for later. Just throw that into a different dungeon later on.
Yeah. So I mean, like, you might be tempted to push them into something like that, and if you do it well, the players won't necessarily realize that you're pushing them towards it. And then they'll find it, and then it'll be awesome. It's like they stumbled upon it themselves. But then again, you know, if you are forcing them into something, it's maybe for you as the DM, it's a little bit less cool. And it's less cool if they realize that they're being, you know, forced into, like, if they would not have found this thing if the DM hadn't been pushing and prodding for it. That can be a little bit less cool. Yeah. But, you know, if it is disappointing to you, you can just cut it out and put it in a thing later. Right. But, you know, maybe it's best just to leave it as, you know, it was there. It's in your head. And that's all it needs to be. I don't know.
Although worst case scenario, it's like a side quest that that you've presented, that they've started on, and then they've either forgot about it or just got distracted and went back to like the main quest or something. And you're like, you almost were there. And it's like, you can't necessarily reuse it, at least not exactly the way it was. Cause then they'll be like, wait, didn't we do this before? You know?
Yeah. So. There's definitely a point where it becomes unfeasible to transplant something like that or to bring it back up.
But I think the way to solve that is you have them encounter a monster NPC or something that went on that side quest and has the thing or whatever.
There you go.
So like solved it. Yeah, so somebody else did the side quest instead, and they run into them later on, and they're like, "Look at this cool thing I got!" Like,
I like that. That's pretty good.
Taunt them.
I mean, so the thing to keep in mind though is that the alternative to this is the players searching literally everything forever.
Yeah,
you don't necessarily want that. You don't want the player who spends 5 minutes explaining how he's going to rig up a pulley system onto this peg on the wall, just in case there might be something there. You know, so if you can have some sort of a happy medium, the players, they do explore, but they only explore the right places. I don't know.
All right. Our next question comes from David C. on email, and they ask, what changes would you make to best adapt a pre-written adventure for a party of 3 PCs?
Yeah. So I've run largely pre-written adventures in my gaming career. And I actually prefer slightly smaller parties. Like a party of 3 PCs is kind of that's like my sweet spot. 3 players plus the DM is what we did for most of our gaming while in high school.
Yeah.
And so when you've got a pre-written adventure, you know, depending on the module and the edition, it's probably written for either 4 or 5 PCs. Mm-hmm. I think in 5th edition, I think the default is assuming 5. So when you're trying to scale it down for 3 players, it can be a little bit tricky. It's definitely trickier than if you have extra players, because with extra players, you just add more monsters, you know?
Right. Yeah.
So the advice I would give is, I kind of think the easiest thing is just to make the players more powerful. Give them, a couple stat boosts, give them more magic items. And then if you do see that, now they're having too easy of a time, then you've got the easy task of just adding more monsters, kind of similar to if there were too many players.
Yeah, I think you're right, because I feel like it is quite difficult to make encounters easier.
A little bit, yeah.
Like it's like adding salt to a recipe to while you're cooking, right? Like it's hard to take it out. It's easy to put it in, or I guess
it's easy to put it in, hard to take it out.
Yeah, I guess
gotta put a potato in there, Jeff.
Right, it's not a perfect analogy.
Right.
So, what was I getting at? Oh yeah, because like the way that like action economy works, it's really difficult to tailor an encounter to like a smaller number of PCs when it's built with like 4 or 5 in mind. It's hard to tweak things and to balance it. So I think you're right in boosting the power of the PCs. It's gonna give you the most bang for your buck, because 1, it's gonna help balance things out, and 2, they get to be more powerful, so it's fun, Like they get to get this extra stuff. They get a free feat or whatever, like it's like, or like an extra, they get like an extra powerful magic item or something. Like it's really cool and exciting. And like you be upfront with that, be like, hey, we're a smaller group. Because we're a smaller group and this is made for a bigger group, hey, everyone gets, an extra whatever.
So yeah, increasing the player's power is one thing. Like I would suggest that first, that you should try that and see how it goes. You can try to reduce the enemies. I mean, like certain things about the enemy are easy to reduce. Certain things aren't. I would say maybe if you don't want to make the players more powerful, maybe try just like, let's say cutting the enemy's health in half. Like all the enemies just cut their health in half. See how that goes. If they have a real easy time, maybe make it not quite half. Maybe make it like 3. They have cut it down by a quarter or something.
Huh. You know what I suggest actually? Not necessarily cut down the hit points, maybe a little bit, but cut down the AC.
Okay.
Because the action economy is so limited with smaller parties, you only have 3 players worth of attacks. Make those attacks count more. Okay. So like cut the AC by like a decent amount. I don't know off the top of my head what the number would be, but if it's like say the enemy's AC is 20, make it 15 instead. I don't know. Make it so like it's like much less likely that they're going to miss, so that like the few attacks per, round that they're getting are actually going to hit the mark. Cuz like those moments when all 3 players miss in a round it's like that is going to change the outcome of the entire fight. Like just one round of bad rolls is going to that could end the party.
Now here's the thing. You said players like feeling powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And they totally do. Hearing you say that just now, I'm thinking to myself, I would feel so much more powerful. Don't give me magic items and stuff. Just reduce every monster's AC by like 5. If I go a whole battle without ever missing, I'm gonna feel like I'm on top of the world.
Right? Yeah.
So that's a good idea. Try that out. Just reduce, not necessarily by such a huge amount. Maybe,
right? Yeah.
Maybe by 5. Who knows?
Yeah.
Just try reducing the monster's AC and see what happens. See how the battle goes.
Yeah. Maybe just like I don't know if this would quite work out, but I feel like it could almost be like a hard rule of however many less players there are than the intended group, reduce everything's AC or DC by that amount. I don't know.
Sure.
Like at the very least,
so you're saying like for every player who's missing, reduce everything's AC by like 3. Or something.
Something like that. Yeah, like so, like if it's intended for 5 people, and you only got 3, maybe reduce it by 2. The difference. Reduce everything, all the DCs and ACs by 2.
Sure.
Just to kind of like make up for that. Well,
man, I don't know. It would need to be play tested, but that sounds so good to me.
I feel like there's something there. There's something there.
Yeah. That's definitely a good starting point. And then another thing, this is probably like when all else fails, you can't really go wrong with this option. And that is put in NPCs. However many PCs the party is supposed to have, make a couple of extra PCs or have the players make them and then hand them to the players and say, all right, these guys are with you too. They'll take, outside of combat, they're not really going to be doing much. They're not going to be solving puzzles or, role playing or anything like that. But when you're in combat, I want you guys to be in control of them. You can use them like, maybe assign, if there are any non-spellcasters in the group, hand them specifically one of the PCs because they'll have less to worry about on their turn.
Sure.
But just make extra NPCs and then give them to the players, have the players control them. And then statistically, mechanically, it's like there are the appropriate number of PCs. And you don't want it to be a DM PC. You don't want to be hogging any of the spotlight yourself as the dungeon master. But if you give them to the players, then the players have these helpers that are doing cool stuff. And you can even story-wise make them total sidekicks, total lackeys.
Right.
Have them show up and be like, hey man, I heard you guys are awesome adventurers. Can I please just follow in your footsteps? I'll clean your boots. I will, pick up your gear, whatever. Feel free to make them as inconsequential as possible outside of combat. So that they don't take up any of the spotlight.
Bunch of like kobold hirelings or something.
Sure.
Like
that could work.
Yeah. I was thinking like giving a character a second character, giving a player a second character to control can actually be more powerful than just having two players.
Okay. Because they're the same mind.
Because it's the same mind. And it's like, I'm not going to tell somebody how, I might suggest what somebody could do in a battle, but I'm not going to tell them what to do. Like,
sure.
So like if I have an idea that it's going to involve the cooperation of like the precise cooperation of two people, like, unless it was something like we came up with ahead of time, I'm not going to be like, hey, you should do this so I can do this. So I can do this cool thing. But if I have two characters in my control, I can be like, oh, I'm going to set this guy up over here and I'm going to go over here. And it's like, we're going to be flanking, or I can set up this like ambush attack or something,
Mm-hmm.
It's like, this character has the darkness spell and this character has, sneak attack or something. And I can do something with that. Maybe, I don't know.
Sure. And feel free to have the NPCs be a couple levels behind. If the players are level 5, maybe make the NPCs level 3.
Mm-hmm.
So that, again, you don't want the NPCs to take the spotlight. The players' characters are the heroes. They are the stars of the show. So always keep that the number one priority, but just give them some sort, something to supplement it that the players can still be a part of.
Yeah, you can always give them personality too, and like like the thing with like the party always adopting a goblin or a kobold or something like
sure
that just happens more often than not. That could be the answer to the balancing.
Yeah, I just think that's a very underrated way of running a game, because I think a lot of dungeon masters do take it too far. They make a super powerful, PC of their own, and then they're hogging the spotlight, and then, suddenly the players are taking the back seat while, the half Minotaur cleric is defeating everything, on his own and whatever.
Right.
So I don't know. I just think it's really hard to do that wrong as long as the players are in control.
Yeah. And I do remember playing one time where we had two characters apiece. And it was fun. Like I liked having two characters because like I like building characters, and I got to do two. I got to have two of them all at once. It was great.
Yep. Yeah. No, that was a very fun campaign. That was when Jay ran the Red Hand of Doom.
Yeah, Red Hand. Yep.
Yeah. All right. I think that'll do it for our regular questions for today. But we do still have our social media questions. Our last social media question was: do you prefer high magic, low magic, or something in between? Do you recall what your answer was, Jeff?
I can't remember specifically. I feel like I would land somewhere in between because I do like high magic, but I like it. Yeah, I feel like I like adventures that start off low magic and work their way up to the oh crap, like ninth layer of hell kind of magic,
Sure.
Or, like you're jumping planes at the end, but at the beginning you're just like you're using the light spell to light your way through a cave, at level 1.
Sure.
But then at level 20 you're hopping planes and stuff. So like I like high magic, but I do enjoy there being a sort of, a build up to it.
Okay, I can understand that. For me, high magic all the way. Give me all the magic you got. All of it.
Give it.
Start at first level, and I want to be in a floating city with, even commoners are throwing around fireballs and stuff. The light cantrip, give me continual flame. Level 1. No, I mean, not mechanically, of course, but no, world-wise, I love, give me all the magic you got, all the cool stuff to look at, all the cool stuff to think about, all of it. Over on Facebook, Sean M says, I'm working on a homebrew world that's sort of mid-magic. Every story has ancient ruins and great stories from the past. I wanted to tell stories with my players affecting the world to become those legends. So my one campaign concept for the world tells about the dark elves surfacing after 3,000 years, less than 1,000 years after elves first came to be, and what has happened in that time. Even some races won't exist in this region and have only existed for a short while. Humans may only be around for a few hundred years in other regions and have kingdoms that are relatively young. All this means that named spells, such as the Leomund spells and so on, don't exist yet. Several things need to happen, though. Quests from certain NPCs that will unlock spells, such as teleportation and whatnot. I want my players to feel like their actions had real, serious impact on the evolving world. And
that's really cool.
That is pretty cool. If you're running like a low magic thing, that is one. The naming of spells is a really cool thing that you can do. You can have the players be like the one that created that spell, and so they can change the name of the spell if they want to.
Oh, I like. Okay. You could have it so that like there is plenty of magic in the world, but it's not magic isn't really accessible to player races, basically.
Okay.
But, if one of your players wants to be a wizard, like have them be the wizard and it works exactly the same, but they are tapping into, like, they are the first human wizard or the first, dwarven wizard or whatever. Yeah. Like, because there's only, like, the only things that can cast magic are, like, monsters and dragons and, things like that. Like, things that have those things naturally. Sure. But, like, you could play it off as, like, this is not something that anybody, that, like, the humanoid races have access to until, your player's character comes along and is like, I've been studying this for so long, or, like, I've been studying this so much that, like, I figured it out.
That's pretty cool. That's one benefit of playing a game like Dawn of Worlds, which we did for our Patreon a few months ago. You're creating the world and the world's history. So pretty much no matter what you do, the world is going to be kind of young unless like the group really wants to keep the first round of the game going for a long time, where each round is 1,000 years or whatever. Yeah. So you kind of always end up with like, oh yeah, most races are just a few hundred years old. And I think that's an interesting way to set that up. So yeah, if you haven't checked out Dawn of Worlds, check it out. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's cool.
Adam B says, high magic. There is nothing more epic than a wizard duel to the death. I agree. Dan W says, are the spells in the book high or low magic? Basically, I don't limit the spells my players can use from the player's handbook. Whatever that is the one I like. LOL. So yeah, high magic is not necessarily the... the stuff in the book is the stuff in the book. High magic is like, how much magic is there in the world?
Right.
Is
like
the world...
How common is it, basically?
Yeah, how common is magic? That's a good way to think of it. I guess maybe we should have explained what high magic was.
Sure. Yeah.
Nathan O says, I typically run book adventures and modules for my group. Currently running through Dungeon of the Mad Mage. They're still only level 1 of the dungeon, but haven't had to deal with much in the way of caster enemies. I'm also working on building a homebrew campaign where they play as a sub-race of kobolds I came up with using some abilities from the variants in Volo's Guide, as well as a couple I came up with or tweaked a bit. They haven't started this yet, but they will eventually come across some undead, including a vampire lord and an encounter with some hags in a swamp. The main guard forces on the island chain it starts out on are monks from a tri-traditional monastery. This basically means that it's a monastery that offers courses or training in all 3 basic traditions in the player's handbook. So I think from the sounds of it, that sounds more like a low magic type thing, in that they haven't encountered much of like undead or anything like that.
Well, he's saying that they're saying that there's like hags and vampires and stuff like that. So well,
so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That's probably somewhere in between.
Somewhere between, yeah. Over on Reddit, Alistar the Minotaur says, definitely high magic, and I don't think I realized it until playing in a comparably low magic campaign. I joined a group unaware that the campaign was low magic, save for the spellcasters themselves, and grew increasingly frustrated that by level 9, I didn't even have a +1 weapon. It was a foreign concept to me that large towns didn't have a magical goods vendor, hawking trinkets and baubles. I think if I'd been properly prepared for the game prior to joining, I would have been less frustrated, but I realized that style of gameplay just wasn't for me. So yeah, whether you're playing high magic, low magic, or something in between, you should probably establish that at the beginning of the campaign. Definitely in session 0.
Yeah.
Over on Twitter, that's Carl with a K, says, I love settings where magic is the norm. Eberron, Ravnica, etc. If magic is available, it makes sense to me that people would try to capitalize on it. And I don't believe everyone who has magic would hoard it, and therefore make devices that make everyone's life easier. And yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah. I like that take on high magic campaigns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Eberron's great.
Over on the Discord, we got a few. Stiltskin84 says, I prefer high magic almost always. I like low magic in present and future settings only up until the part of the story where they discover magic is still around. Then you can turn it up as high as you want. Yeah, that's pretty good. The Beverage Tea says, I like medium magic. The 5th edition Faerun modules seem a little on the stingy side when it comes to magic loot, so I try to give more. All magic all the time just doesn't fit what I'm looking for, but neither does Game of Thrones either. I feel like the Goldilocks of D&D. That's pretty good. Yeah, Game of Thrones is a good example of low magic. Like, there is magic in the world, but it's real rare.
Right, yeah. Because the idea is that there was a lot of like magic stuff around in the past, but just sort of faded away, and it's like cropping up here and there.
Peace-Roy Pancake says, all the magic all the time, and then put a string of emojis that all signify magic in some way.
Nice.
Flash85 says, I personally prefer high-level magic games. As a player, I like powerful attacks and armor classes. Having 3 attacks with a flame tongue weapon sounds fun. Might put a little more work on the DM, but nothing too crazy in my opinion.
Sure.
Yeah. Dustin put simply a gif of Emperor Palpatine screaming unlimited power.
I think I saw that, yeah.
Potato Plunderer says, I agree with Collins B. I like to incorporate both Spelljammer and Eberron into my games, giving them a Treasure Planet and Firefly feel, while still allowing for some standard fantasy themes throughout the campaign. I mean, yeah, that's all the magic words right there, really. Just a couple more. Debrasor says, magic is powerful. I feel it's less of a, is it common, and more of, where is it common? The military and aristocracy that has the money for schools and training, common. The average town that is being ruled or protected by said military and or aristocracy, uncommon. Make the characters feel like heroes. Viva la revolution!
Right, yeah. You gotta steal the magic from the rich and give it to the poor.
Yeah. And then just one more. Seawood Scribe says, I like low and high magic systems both. I've run 2 very successful low magic campaigns and the players enjoyed the settings, but I did make it clear up front that these were to be non-traditional D&D games. As a DM, just approach your players with an honest representation of what you want in your game and accept it if it doesn't jive with the player. Either find a compromise, run a different setting, or run your setting for different players. All right, so that'll do it for our last social media question. Our next social media question is, what's the biggest monster you have fought or had your party fight in a tabletop RPG? So as I said earlier, I am currently 3D printing a Tarrasque, which is pretty big. I might try to print a bigger version of it eventually.
Right.
But yeah, so Jeff, what is the biggest monster you have fought?
Let's see. I think... trying to think of like the colossal size stuff I fought. I think that would probably be like there was the red dragon from Age of Worms. Am I right? It was like a Dracolich?
There was a Dracolich. I'm trying to remember what size. There was some weird thing somebody came up with for how to defeat that was entirely based on the fact that it was a smaller size category than you thought it was. Let me actually look that up. Hang on.
Well, because I remember like I think the stat block for it was gargantuan, but because we had the colossal red dragon miniature,
maybe that's what happened.
You bumped it up to the next size just so we can use that miniature.
Yeah, maybe that sounds about right. I want to say it was not colossal. I think it was gargantuan.
Yeah,
which back in 3rd edition was not the biggest size category. In 5th edition, it is. They kind of changed up how the size categories work in this edition.
Yeah. But yeah, I remember fighting that, and then beyond that one, like I feel like I don't know, like there was like a Kraken. Like back in like 3rd edition, like before 3.5, I think I fought a Kraken. And like your argument on the Tarrasque, at least the 3.5 or at least the 5th edition Tarrasque, it basically was just us flying around it, shooting it with arrows.
Sure, because that's what you do when it's a giant creature.
Yeah,
you don't get to be high level by walking up to the dragon and standing in front of its mouth.
Right,
you just don't.
So yeah, big dragon, a Kraken, and then there was that like giant kiss worm thing or whatever. Or maybe it was like a
the Ulgersasta. That was gargantuan too, I think.
Yeah. But those are the big things I think of.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if I have ever actually run a colossal creature. I don't think I have. Okay, I'm pretty sure we did fight a colossal red dragon when I was playing as Ichi in like the last official adventure that we ran. Mm-hmm. It was the Bastion of Broken Souls adventure, which was like the end of this big long, essentially a pre-adventure path adventure path.
Yeah.
And I think the end boss of that was a Great Worm Red Dragon, and I'm looking at the stats now. It is colossal, whether it was a Great Worm or not, who knows?
Yeah.
But
I remember. Yeah, we talked about that adventure path.
Yeah. So that one I did fight a colossal dragon. I don't think I've ever actually run a colossal creature.
I'm pretty sure the red dragon we fought in Age of Worms. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if like you changed anything else about the stats, but I feel like you just like changed it from gargantuan to colossal just so we could use that miniature.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. If I did in fact change that to colossal, then I did run that. But also I'm thinking that maybe this is stretching it a bit because they didn't really fight it, but in one of our Roll20 games that I ran for our Patreon like a year ago, there was the party encountered this gigantic like Warforged creature that was walking around the Mournland of Eberron picking up corpses. And I mean, in the book, those things are only like huge size. They're not that big, but I kind of wanted a Shadow of the Colossus style encounter.
Right. Yeah.
So I put one in that was that big, that was gargantuan or colossal, just was huge, was not size category huge. That's a bad word to use. That was gigantic. And the players had to like climb up to find a specific corpse that had been put on it while like, I don't know, crows or something attacked them.
Yeah, so, that's right. That sounds right.
Yeah. So I don't know if that counts, but it's my podcast, so it counts. So yeah, those were our answers to that question. What is the biggest monster you have fought or had your party fight in a tabletop RPG? So yeah, hopefully we have some interesting answers from our listeners on that. All right, that'll do it for our questions for today. But before we close out, let's wind down, let's relax, let's take a deep breath. Let's remember those who have come before us, who have given their lives so that we may have a better world to live in, as we toss another log onto the funeral pyre. Today's funeral pyre was submitted by Roadside Dead Cat via Reddit.
Oh,
ran a scam on a noble's wife in Waterdeep and got away with a fat ruby. Later on, ran into said noble with his bodyguard. Could not roll a hit to save my life. See, they should have reduced the AC because he's the only person in the fight.
Right.
Could not roll a hit to save my life. Killed, skinned, and crucified in the town square.
Ooh. Hate to see it.
Yeah. So let's raise a glass in memory of Roadside Dead Cat's character as we remind the DM, like, hey, you got to account for smaller party sizes. Clink. All right, that'll do it for today. To submit questions for us to discuss, items for the Dragon's Hoard, or stories for the Funeral Pyre, please email us at interpartyconflict@gmail.com. For show notes, links to media mentioned on the show, and running lists of questions and magic items, go to interpartyconflict.com. Join the discussion on social media. We're on Facebook, we're on Reddit, we're on our Interparty Discord, we're on Twitter at InPartyConflict. Check those out for our weekly social media questions. Your answers might end up on the show. Find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, YouTube, anywhere you download podcasts. Please rate, review, subscribe, or just tell a friend. If you want to support the show monetarily, check out the rewards at patreon.com/interpartyconflict. We have a few different tiers, so anything you can spare, even $1 a month, would go towards making the show better, and you'll get bonus content for it. Jeff, tell us about FriendQuest.
FriendQuest is a YouTube channel where you can watch us play video games, or you can check out my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/tiltedtotal to watch me play games live.
There you go. Also, head over to bit.ly/interpartyconflict to take a short survey about our show, what you like, what you don't like, etc. And just for taking it, you'll get 2 free printable board games, courtesy of Mary and Tom over at hollandspiel.com. And our music is made by Boxcat Games from Nameless the Hacker's RPG. So, Jeff, until next time...
Gabe, the monster's too big. We gotta go.